Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Circworks, and this is 100 Days of Making Comics, episode 46. What is 100 Days of Making Comics? Well, it's where I put aside at least 30 minutes a day from whatever I'm doing, whether it's client work, going out, having fun, all that stuff, and make the time to work on my own personal comic book project. All right, ding. You know what that is? That's an elevator opening up. I'm going to give you my elevator pitch. Maybe you've heard it before. All right. Picture this. Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. Kids versus zombies. A band of ragtag misfit kids trapped high atop a treehouse must escape and deliver a cure to end the threat of a horde of flesh-eating zombies lurking below. All right, that's, I got to work on that a little bit, but that's pretty much that's sort of my elevator pitch that I usually give. I mean, I've added a little bit to it, and I'm going to talk about that today. I was talking with Marshall Couture via the internet on his 100 Days of Making Comics page. If you're not aware, there's a lot of other people doing this thing as well. So he brought up the elevator pitch, and he was a little concerned whether his was working and everything. We talked about that a little bit, but I thought I'd bring that up on this show and kind of explain my thoughts on the elevator pitch and everything. So Marshall said that his elevator pitch for his comic book Glyph was a graffiti artist whose artwork comes to life, and hopefully I'm paraphrasing that correctly. And to me, I think that sounds pretty good. I mean, it kind of draws me in. It makes me think, okay, there's definitely some possibilities here. I wonder, so what happens if he whatever he creates comes to life? Can he control it? Does it go out of control? There's just a lot there, and it's something that I think gets me thinking and gets me wanting to do more about the project. And that's what you want. You want to hook people and kind of reel them in. Too many people, they just try to tell you their whole story, and it just gets really convoluted, and you're losing people. I've been to conventions before where I'll go up to table and I'll look at somebody's comic book and then they start to go on and just this is a story. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic steampunk epic. There's this huge omnipotent clock, and each hour of the clock represents a different faction, and there's zombies and there's werewolves, but they're not really werewolves, they're more like were-jackals, and there's lizard people, and then there's cyborgs, but they're not really cyborgs, they're like the souls of deceased gods living inside robotic bodies. And each hour of the clock, one of these factions gets a little more powerful, but then our hero is part lizard man, part vampire. So there's 2 hours where he has power, only he has half the power, and blah blah blah, and it just goes on. And by this point I'm like, okay, well, sometimes I'll just buy the comic book just to shut him up, which may be a good sales tactic, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the idea is not to tell the story, it's to sell the story. So you've got to take, I mean, you can have all that stuff in your story, and that's fine as long as it's a well-told story. I mean, there's many stories, whatever, The Hobbit, where there's billions of characters, or, Lord of the Rings, and all kinds of things going down, but you've got to boil that down into, something real simple and get people's attention. And if you do have their attention, then you can kind of go on and talk a little bit more about that. So with me, I always just start off with it's Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead, because those are two things most people are familiar with. They know the Goonies, they know Night of the Living Dead. It's familiar. There's a lot of people, or there's a lot of movies or ideas or things that are derivative of Goonies. There's a whole lot of things, movies, entertainment properties, everything that are derivative of Night of the Living Dead. But really, to my knowledge, there's not a whole lot of things that kind of combines those two things. So I think that's what attracts people's attention. So that's kind of what I do, because it's easy if you give people something familiar that they can relate to and maybe add sort of a twist to it. And like I went on before, and this was kind of needs some work, but when I talked about a band of misfit kids trapped in a treehouse, I mean that's kind of the Night of the Living Dead part. If you see Night of the Living Dead, they're trapped in a house and there's zombies around them. So my story is kind of a little flip on that, and that's not the whole story. I mean, most of it doesn't take place in that treehouse, but it's an interesting concept, and so that's kind of why I chose to add that in sort of what I guess you could refer to as like a log line for a movie or something. So there's different things you want to think about. It helps if you mention the protagonist. You want to definitely mention the protagonist's goal and the antagonist. If you can kind of include all those elements into your short kind of movie pitch, log line, elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it. So like with Marshall's, we mentioned the protagonist. He's a graffiti artist. And it also helps, you don't want to mention the characters really by name. I mean, if you're saying, well, Marshall's story is called Glyph, which is the main character. So in that case, you may want to say Glyph is, but you want to describe the character probably with an adjective, again, something that people can relate to, because people don't know the character unless you're have some cool kind of name like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie like John Matrix or something. But no, you don't even want to do that then. But yeah, describe the character. Don't really tell, because people don't know who this character is, but they can get a feel for the character if you describe him with adjectives. So with Marshall's, it's a graffiti artist, and you can even add something to it. I've only read the first mini comic, so I have to be a little more familiar with it. But maybe he's an orphan or something. An orphan, I don't know, or a lone graffiti artist or something. Something to describe the character, and then again, his goal. Now, we can I don't know exactly what the goal in the story, but it's, from what I gather from the first mini comic, is that there's an antagonist called Tusk, and it sounds like he is trying to get Glyph to join his gang or his crew or whatever, for whatever reason. I'm sure it will become more evident as the story goes on. But so maybe this Tusk character is trying to just take over the neighborhood and infiltrate all the areas or whatever. Again, Marshall, I don't know. You can explain this, but anyway, there's definitely a goal, and again, the powers, Glyph's powers of creating artwork that comes to life, and that's kind of his weapon, and that's the interesting part of the story. You definitely want to throw that in there. Maybe mention some kind of goal. So the goal in my story is for these kids to escape this treehouse and deliver a cure that's been presented to them. There's a doctor they're looking for. They have all this data and everything that they have to deliver, and to try to end this threat of these zombies that are around. So let me think. So like, say Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars would be, in a galaxy far, far away, a lone farm boy joins forces with a smuggler and an intergalactic princess to destroy an evil empire with power to destroy a planet, or defeat an empire. Defeat an evil empire with the power to destroy a planet, something like along those lines. So that tells you everything. Again, we're not talking about Luke Skywalker. We're talking about a lone farm boy, something people can relate to. So anyway, and it also helps if you can, you want to, if you can add like sort of a ticking time bomb. So I didn't put this in my log line, but there is, there's a finite window of time that they can get this cure before it's no longer viable, or something along those lines. So one of my favorite stories, a story that my comic is based on, is Goonies, one of the stories it's based on. But so these are, again, they're kind of what's the best word to describe the Goonies? They're kind of they're kind of misfits, I guess, or they're, you know, that's how I describe mine too. But I don't know. Anyway, but they've got this treasure map, and they need to find this treasure to help save their town, because in 24 hours or whatever the amount of time it is, it's going to be bulldozed, you know. So there's a time limit there, so that kind of helps, you know, that kind of gives more urgency to the story. And I think I may have talked a little bit about this before, but not in the sense of elevator pitch. So anyway, that's most of my thoughts on the elevator pitch. Again, the key is really not to tell the story, but to sell the story. And if you remember anything from this little video, remember that, because that's the key. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about today. If any of you guys have questions about elevator pitches, or you want to throw me your own elevator pitches, I'd like to hear them. But it's something that's really helpful, and I find that at conventions and things, because elevator pitch might be a little too wide a time frame, because the idea of an elevator pitch, again, is if you're in an elevator with, say, a studio exec or somebody who is in the power to maybe make something happen with your concept or your story, you have from when you get in the elevator to whatever floor you're going on to pitch that story. But a lot of times you don't even have that much time. At a convention, you've got people kind of walking by, and they may pick something up and glance, and you want to catch their attention right there. Or, you know, even something you could do even in passing. I could walk by somebody, not that I would ever do this, but some total stranger. Hey, my comic books Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. I do that all the time to strangers. But so yeah, so you want something quick, and then you kind of want to do different stages. You want something that really hook them real quick, and then you can go on with your kind of log line, like I talk about the protagonist goal and the antagonist, and then from there, then you can go on if somebody is more interested, and you can really pitch your story, really talk about it. You definitely don't want to give away the ending or anything like that, but you want to allude to it. So yeah, so that is my discussion, or all the thoughts in my head about elevator pitches. There's a lot more to that topic and discussion that I'm sure I'm leaving out, but that's what the YouTube comment section is for. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask me. And if you aren't following me on YouTube, yeah, you might want to do that. I got some videos up there. I'm hoping to have some more stuff. You can like the videos and do all that cool stuff. On another note, my website, which was down, is now up. So I know there are a couple people asking about wanting to order my books, and they couldn't because the website was down. That's all fixed. There was a link also that was taking people to an old store, and I was trying to use my detective skills to find out where that link was, because people were going to YouTube and then my page, and then they're finding this old store that only has like 4 products and not even all the comic books or anything on there. So I found out where it was. It was actually a section on my site that when I redid the links, because I've got on the top, I've got a banner, and it's got all your links and everything, and there's a store link, and that takes you to the new store. But below, there's kind of a sliding thing that says Young and the Dead, which most people are coming to look for, and which is weird. It makes sense, because of all the products I have, the only orders that were coming from me from that old store were for Young and the Dead. So yeah, there was a little kind of promo thing that goes across the screen that said Young and the Dead, and if you click on that, then it says go to my store, and that was where that old link was. So I took care of that. So now, hopefully anywhere you go to, you're gonna find the new store and all this stuff. So yeah, my products are up there, but I've done enough pitching today, or talking about pitching. So I'm getting ready to head out of town to go to Las Vegas and have some fun, but I'm going to bring my phone with me and bring some art supplies. I don't know exactly, because right now I'm in the penciling stage. I don't know if I can really bring, usually I do all that stuff at my art desk. So I don't know what I'll do. I'll maybe bring my script with me and maybe punch up the dialogue. That's something I'm constantly doing. Maybe just do some sketching for some parts further on the story that I need to kind of flesh out a little more. But yeah, so whatever. I will be putting in 20 minutes a day in between going and having fun and doing all that stuff. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. That is all.